This debt, this destruction.
Global news impacts us.
We have to change the way we live. This is why we need independent media.
This debt, this destruction.
Global news impacts us.
We have to change the way we live. This is why we need independent media.
Cheers and salutations. Welcome one and all to a very special episode of Hard Lens Media. Shout out to our viewing audiences on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Kick, and also on our public access show on Can TV. Thank you one and all for tuning in. Today, we have ourselves a very special guest. She is joining us live all the way from Hawaii. Her name is Shelby Thomas. She is an outstanding activist, organizer, and someone who's been speaking truth to power, especially when it comes time to really Shelby Thomson, apologies for that, who has been talking about what's been happening in Maui and will be leading a massive protest on 9/11 to bring awareness to the injustice that's been happening to the people of Maui and, of course, the ongoing crisis and failure of leadership by local and state officials. So first time joining us, Shelby, can you please introduce yourself to our viewers and subscribers? Tell us a little bit about yourself so we can understand a little bit more about you and what kind of groundwork you're doing in Maui. And again, condolences to anyone that you know that suffered through this massive and devastating wildfire that took place weeks ago.
Thank you, and aloha, and good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here, and I wish it was under happier circumstances, of course. But myself, I really dove into the the truth and freedom community early on. When back in the day, I was harmed by what I call big pharma. And that really, awakened me into, these complexes and these captured agencies and, really what they were up to. And so then when I became a mother and, I chose to do a different way. And when it came to this, medical institutions, which in the face of censorship, we won't talk about them. But it became evident that there was so much ostracization towards speaking the truth and putting yourself out there to do things that are against the status quo, and so just like we saw with 2020 21, that's really when I finally had enough of sitting in the background. And that's when we actually had created Injected as a platform for people who refused the COVID vaccine. And so it's for dating, friendships, community, even blood and fertility listings. So we're a full multifaceted platform. And, that was, how I got into the truth freedom community. I never expected to be, quote unquote citizen journalist now, but, what we've seen here on Maui is so devastating that as just a citizen on this earth, I have an obligation to, say what I'm witnessing. And so it's truly been, life changing. It feels like 9/11 happened in our backyards, just 30 miles away. And yet, the world's never stood still for that.
Now, look, we did speak before the show started, and thankfully, no one close to you was severely impacted by this fire, but you did have your mother who did escape, thankfully, in time before the fires truly got out of hand. So I think for our viewers, right now we're seeing the aftermath. We're being bombarded with videos of these fences being set up. We're seeing local officials, bend themselves over backwards just to defend their actions and not really give an explanation. But I think it's important that we start from the beginning. There's been a lot of concern in regards to how this fire got started. A good friend of the show, Pasta Jardula, was recently there in Maui. He's an independent reporter, and he spoke to us firsthand about how the people there were devastated and how they were left on their own, effectively the sirens, all systems to inform the people of, hey, there's a massive fire coming our way. You should leave right now. All of that failed. So if you can, for our viewers, take us to the beginning to where you were at, and as much as you can, at least explain the situation that your mother went through when the fires were first initially heading towards, I guess, the community of Lahaina. And the thing is, we're getting all these different reports now, conflicting reports. Even these leading officials now saying that they won't investigate into the cause of the fire until probably the end of next year. So many questions are going to be left unanswered. So can you tell us what happened on day one when everything failed?
Yeah, well, it didn't fail. I believe that that was intentional. I personally lived in Lahaina for many years. I worked off of Front Street for many years. And so then my mom actually, still works there. And, the day was definitely, there was an eerie feeling, I would say, across the whole island. We had this wind that was not typical. And it was, just roaring from just everywhere. And, in Lahaina, there's typically power outages, or, even a car accident could close down the road to Lahaina. So people are vigilant, knowing that, this is, we have just a little island grid here. We're a small town. And these things can happen. And so for this day in particular, the power was out very early. And I had even said to her, I wonder if you should even bother going out there. If there's no power, doesn't seem like it's going to be worth your time. You might get stuck. And she actually works doing cleaning vacation rentals that are right on the ocean front. And so they expected, tourists are coming, people are going to be checking in. It doesn't matter that the power is out. Things are going to be business as usual later today. So she went to work around 7 a.m. There was already gridlock traffic. That were reporting. My friend who lived at the top of Lahaina Luna corroborated this, that there was a fire started around 6:30 in the morning, potentially from a downed power line. That's been there's footage of it. Mm-hmm. The fire department came early, extinguished it, and then they actually ended up leaving the scene because we had fires on our side of the island. And so it wasn't until later in the afternoon that, things became precarious again. So, we have the claim that the fire was extinguished. HECO, Maui Electric, Hawaiian Electric, they claimed that they had de-energized the lines early that morning. And from our best knowledge, that was also the reason kids were not in school, was because of the high wind advisory, no power. So, things were quiet around Lahaina, but also that was since things were down, we have a lack of, communications of what really happened that day. And so it's kind of coconut wireless. But it wasn't till
coconut wireless. What do you mean by that?
That's what we joke on the island. Like, it's our telephone.
I see. Okay, coconut wireless. You know what? Maybe we should adopt that somewhere here in Chicago. I don't know. Anyways, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's more effective than 5G.
I would believe so. Okay.
But so geez, it was around 2:30. I started seeing reports on our local little Facebook groups, like Maui 24/7, just like little groups run by the citizens to say what we're seeing on the island. And there was smoke being reported in Lahaina again, and I had been trying to get a hold of her. Cell towers were down. Finally, we did get a call through, and I said, I think you really need to get out of Lahaina. This is like, I just feel something is just wrong. So she finishes up work right around 3, almost 3:30. She goes to leave, and there's immediately a cone and a barricade for downed power lines. And the police were there very nonchalantly redirecting all of the traffic right back into Lahaina. And with Lahaina specifically, there's only one way in and one way out.
Wait, I apologize. So there's only one road that's going into Lahaina, one road going out. There's nothing just in case for people to leave by foot or any other exit. That was the only way in and out.
So there's the Lahaina bypass, which goes over the town, and then there's the Front Street, which is the lower road.
All right.
Both of them funnel to the same exit, which is Route 30. So, yeah, there is only essentially one way in, one way out. We do have the cross streets that will lead you, through the town to the bypass or front streets. You can connect through. But as people were finding out, there was a barricade at almost every single exit leading out of Lahaina. And there was not a feeling of there was no emergency feeling from first responders. And I don't want to take away from those who do heroic work, but the feeling of the day was they weren't alarming people to leave Lahaina. It was like parading them back into the city, and she experienced that herself. She goes to the first exit. There was a Maui electric crane crew trying to fix the power line, which you would think they would not bother fixing it in 80-mile-an-hour winds. They would just, get it out of the way, let
Right.
traffic continue on. But instead, they were working on it, and then several other exits had same issues, power lines just falling directly into the road, and then police barricading and saying, "Oh, go this way," or "Go this way," and filter through this way. And then even the final exit, we have photographs where the police are essentially just sitting in front of the highway, and there's nothing blocking Route 30. So, and they were on video saying that they were following orders and instructions, and
Instructions from who? Because what's interesting to point out, and I don't mean to cut you off here, but there was a report that I covered a few days ago on the show where the mayor of Lahaina didn't acknowledge or wasn't aware of the death toll until
Right.
the day after. Now, with these
Right.
massive fires coming on through, I mean, you can't look me in the eye and tell me, oh, yeah, everyone's going to be fine, because these fires were out of control. The fire department couldn't push it back. Who's issuing that order? The governor, the mayor, the head of the emergency department, who said he was happy that the sirens didn't go off? Because I want to
Right.
ask you about those sirens not going off as well, but continue on.
Well, you're completely right. This is just it's just negligence. Yeah, it kind of gives you the 9/11 vibes where, oh, all of the fighter jets happen to be doing a training module the same morning. They had said that the governor, everybody, they were over on Oahu doing an emergency preparedness seminar. Isn't that convenient? And they checked in on Monday, the day before the fires, and they had plans to come back on Wednesday, the day after the fire. And, you're right. The mayor said he didn't know until like 12 hours. How is that even possible? I mean, that statement alone should get you, thrown in jail for criminal negligence. But I'm going to, when I take it a step further, the sirens are the most robust in the whole world. And in Hawaii, it's a joke because it goes off like on the first of the month, the first Monday of the month. And we all go, oh, it's time to pay rent. And they're, we test them every month, and we know that they work. And even here where I live on East Maui, I live above the tsunami line, and I can still hear the sirens from my house up here on the volcano.
Then I'm glad you brought that up here. So first, I had two questions. Real quick, this will be a short and simple one. How long have you been a resident in Maui?
I have been here for a little over 10 years.
So over 10 years. So in over that 10 years, I'm going to assume that you've heard those sirens go off when there's been a hurricane, typhoon, earthquake, volcano, a man-made disaster, etc. You've heard those things go off, or you've been in that situation similar to that, correct?
Thankfully, they've not had to use them. I believe the last time it was used was for this. They had a missile crisis back a few years ago, where they had no problem accidentally sounding alarms and text message systems then for nothing. But these sirens work flawlessly, and we even joke, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we all start running when they go off, and maybe the tourists will think that there's a tsunami. Literally, that's how prominent these sirens are.
Okay.
And it says on the Hawaii websites, government websites, they're made for, terrorism,
Mhm.
tsunami, wildfire,
Wait,
lava,
wait, can you repeat that one word? I didn't hear it clearly. Can you say that one word again?
wildfire,
You know
wildfire.
what? Sorry, my headphones don't
I
work, and I
know.
think my
Isn't that?
audience. Can you repeat that word one more
No,
time?
it's actually wildfire.
Thank you.
I know. Isn't that amazing that
Yes.
it's designed for fires and it didn't go off for fires? And so, and then Indaya, which his name says it Indaya, it's almost like they throw it in our face. And, we know, if we know the globalists and the people that are doing this, that, they love to make theater out of these moments.
Mhm.
And, he didn't even have, uh, any experience in emergency preparation management. So, I believe he was obviously a fall guy. The way he said we didn't want people to run to the mountain. Like, how stupid do you think we actually are as just humans?
Yeah,
It's
I've actually made that statement on the show too, because if I was living in Maui, or if I was a tourist and I hear a siren go off and I see a lot of smoke and a big wall of fire, I'm not going to run to it.
right,
I will be afraid and run away from it. So
right,
the sirens don't go off. The person who was running it clearly was incompetent. The mayor is MIA, or he's either that doesn't find out just how bad it is until 12 hours later. But there have been natural disasters in Hawaii before. Where was the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Coast Guard? Where was where was this massive movement to get the people out? Because when the fire was hitting, we're all seeing these videos of people running into the ocean, because you mentioned all these roads are being blocked. Your mother, how did she escape? Again, can you elaborate just a little bit more? Because again, it seems like the people who were not complying with the orders are the ones who got away with, with at least
yeah.
being alive.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And, so she had funneled back into Front Street all the way down from that police barricade. And once she had gotten to the end, she had realized at that moment that and she'll even say that she felt that her, senses were feeling dulled, because she's a very alert person. And she felt like the frequencies were off in the area.
Mhm.
And mind you, we do have many new, shining, brand new 5G towers in Lahaina. They mandated vaccines for all first responders. I'll leave that at that. But you know, uh, she realized at that moment that something felt, you know, the nefarious, and she did a 20-point turn in the road. She literally just made everybody stop and let her turn around. She came back through the direction that she was coming, and miraculously, that crane that was there, they had moved just enough out of the way for her to get through, and then
Wow.
she left. And this was around 4:30, and so she has photos of traffic streaming into Lahaina at this time. So there wasn't police on the road also saying, don't go in there. The road was open and they were still letting people into the fire at 4:30. By 5 o'clock, people had already jumped into the ocean to escape flames. So there was just all around following orders, like you said, from who? If they didn't know that the fire was happening, then who are you following orders from? And then where was their orders for there's just, I feel like it's the sloppiest 9/11, and I didn't think that Hawaii was prepared for this dissertation that the world is ready to have and say what happened in Maui. And the more that I'm watching it uncover, and the proclamations that Josh Green had done in July, another smoking gun.
What proclamations was Josh governor? Again, he's the Democratic governor of Hawaii, but what were the proclamations that he was making? Was this in regards to the smart cities?
Oh, even worse. So Josh Green, well, so besides his, tenor of speaking about how the smart city is going to be ushered in Hawaii,
Okay.
he also he signed an emergency proclamation in July that gives him full stop carte blanche ability to seize land if there is a natural disaster. In this proclamation, it also eliminates the Sunshine Law, which is Hawaii's law for public discussion regarding land development. So not only did he give himself full ability to seize the land, he took away First Amendment constitutional rights to speak about it. Here in Hawaii, a lot of people don't believe this is America anyways. This was an illegally annexed territory, and this
The
was a
Kingdom of
stolen.
Hawaii. Yes.
Right. Yeah, this was a stolen place. And so it's remarkable that he could. I mean, how could you not see through? It's just 3 weeks before the fire. It was 8 days in I think I heard the FEMA director saying this in her speech. They had thankfully increased the emergency budget just 8 days before the fire. And so she said that they were well prepared for it. The FEMA director was also vacationing on Maui when the fires broke out. Wow, isn't that convenient? But, if the FEMA director was here, why wasn't there orders for help? Where was the military from Oahu? We're 100 miles away from a military base. We could have had hospital ships here. We could have had ships with water pumps helping extinguish fires relatively quickly. This fire burned for 6, 8 hours before people were even picked up in the ocean from Coast Guard.
Wow.
Where was the help? If FEMA director is vacationing on Maui, and then it took days after that to even see boots on the ground in the disaster zone. And I've seen the footage, and I have friends personally that were helping essentially find bodies with the National Guard that did show up.
My goodness.
It's remarkable.
So what we've been seeing now and what we've been hearing about, especially when it comes to the small business owners and homeowners. I mean, let's be very clear here about this wildfire that impacted Maui. To everyone that's watching, and I know I have a very diverse audience across the political spectrum, but it's been in agreement that this is the most devastating wildfire in U.S. history. People have been burnt to a cinder. The death toll, which again, for some reason, are keeping it at 115, and there's still 850 to 1,000 people missing, many of them children, people burnt to cinder, communities forever scarred by this fire. And now the next kick in the gut is lack of resources going to the people. We are hearing reports of people being threatened or called up or being harassed into selling their properties, or they can't go to their properties. And then we're seeing a lack of accountability for any of the leaders, be it from the mayor to the chief of police. There is the aftermath, and you and a few other people are coming together. Now, I can't pull up the full article, but I want to at least share it with my viewing audience. It's from Epoch Times. Apologies for that. But you are leading a grassroots protest, hopes to launch 1,000 votes to promote government transparency in the aftermath of Lahaina. So let's talk about this transparency, because they're investigating into the fires and they won't get to the bottom until a year. They're having third-party people investigate the leaders, but the leaders are being hesitant on whether or not they want to go on the record. You have venture capitalists flying in. You have celebrities like Oprah and The Rock trying to set up a Maui fundraiser. They put $10 million to set up the infrastructure, but asking all of you for money, everyone for money, instead of putting up their own money. Okay, what's going on here? Because it seems like people are being pushed aside. You have the FEMA operators in 5-star resorts. What is the feedback that you're getting? What is happening there? Because we talked to Pasta yesterday in regards to that, and people are enraged.
Yeah.
You are a resident of Maui, and I know that all of you are coming together finding out about this. Your thoughts on, again, lack of investigation, lack of accountability from the leadership, vulture capitalists trying to get land. What is happening there? And what can we do to help? And what is happening on 9/11 so that you and your fellow organizers can bring awareness to this horrible crisis that's taking place?
Yeah. Well, it is it's it's devastating because they have put up this large fence around Lahaina, and it has this blanket of concern that they're doing search and rescue, or they're doing this, or they're particles, or there's all these excuses. But when in other natural disasters have people been arrested for trying to go find loved ones' bodies in homes or their own items? That's never happened before. And you know I believe that there's probably evidence that's in this area, and that's why it's being kept under lock and key. And there's so many questions to be asked. This was one of the most sacred grounds in all of Hawaii. It's where the royals lived, and this land was generational. It was kept by these Hawaiians for just thousands of years now, and they wanted to destroy that history. And these properties were protected under historical law, and now that they're destroyed, what does that mean? And then Josh Green, with unfortunately having the Fifth and the 14th Amendment on his side, he's going to seize that land. He's got his emergency proclamation. Worse, they've gone and sprayed a substance called soil tack all over Lahaina, which is an adhesive glue, which I implore everyone to check out. It was actually created by the DoD. It has nanotechnology in it. But why is that happening? People are enraged at the lack of accountability with numbers and within just victims. Like, where's the mourning for people? Why don't we know their names a month later? Why is there still 1,700 unaccounted for children? Why was the sirens not sounded? There's just, we could, I myself personally, I have many opinions on how I believe it started, or, plans or nefarious things or conspiracies. But all of those things aside, what we can prove is still criminal and nefarious. And it feels that it's this land grab, and it's going to happen while the people are grieving, and they've suffered this immense loss, and they want to recover, but they're not having the opportunity to.
Now, right here, there is another thing to bring up, and that is the unfortunate situation with housing again, because again, it does. I want to pull up this article here. It's from the Honolulu Civil Beat, and maybe you could add in some commentary on this. But Hawaii's new chief housing officer is resigning. So I think I'm going to say her name right. Nani Medeiros. She's okay. Less than 2 months after Governor Josh Green announced a bold plan to address Hawaii's housing crisis, the official in charge of implementing the plan has submitted her resignation. The housing crisis in Hawaii, how devastating is it? How expensive is it to be in Hawaii? How bad is the homelessness crisis? Because with this wildfire that took place, especially destroying Lahaina and people now effectively homeless,
Yeah.
what does this say about the people? What does it say about all of the entire communities that are being displaced right now? Like, what is being done to house individuals who have nowhere to go?
Right. Well, there is a housing crisis every day in Hawaii, and this was before the fire. And it is extremely expensive to live here. One bedrooms in Hawaii start $1,800, $2,000. So milk is $11 a gallon here,
What?
and yeah, it's true. And so, we pay this immense price for paradise, and we're also getting priced out of paradise, especially the Hawaiian community, the natives, which is, horrible. And, with this woman, I guess I'm curious as to why she resigned. I wonder if she was trying to be more helpful than harmful, and sounds like she's getting pushback. And I mean, we know how that works. If you're trying to do good, they try to eliminate you. So I'm curious to know more about the story, or maybe is this just another kind of fall person. Now that she's gone, they can put someone else in the way that's going to help usher in different plans.
Mhm.
Gosh, I don't remember exactly where I was going with this, but it's just time for us to say there's so many questions to be asked,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, we don't want to have to do this right now. We wish everybody could grieve and mourn, but we don't even know who the victims are. So, why? We need to know more, and we need to know why they've made these plans ahead of time for the land, and we need to know, why they're spraying poison on it, and why they're continuing to uh, do what they do.
Your thoughts on Biden and his response? So it took him 13 days to come to Maui. He has yet to visit East Palestine, Ohio, when 4,000 people were exposed to dangerous chemicals. But when confronted for it, his first response while he was riding his bicycle on vacation was, "We're looking into it." And then his second response, as he's getting in a car, no comment. And then he comes to Maui and he regales the people of how he almost lost his house from a devastating fire, almost lost his car, his cat, his wife, for a fire that was taken out in 5 minutes. Number one, where were you when that epic speech was taking place? And number two, what was your thoughts as a resident of Maui when you heard this heroic speech from President Joe Biden?
Well, I was not there at the speech, unfortunately, but I see. This is when I believe it's theater yet again. It's like, couldn't you make his clone more cognizant? Like, he's just falling asleep at the wheel, and yes, his joke about his kitchen fire that almost burned his Corvette. I mean, it's just the most offensive thing when there's literally thousands of people who've lost their homes and families. Does he care? No. I mean, he literally says we have the money laundering scheme to Ukraine he's too worried about. So, this is just yet again, I think, just a great example for not only will they potentially do these things to you, this
Mhm.
whatever this attack or natural disaster, but then they'll also just leave you there to handle it for yourself. Citizens had to give dignity to our loved ones and clean bodies out of the water in the street because no one else showed up. So the government doesn't care about you, and they never have. And if they can do this in Hawaii, where we were only 80 miles. This is, if you look up the square mileage of Maui,
Mhm.
you'll realize that this is just a pinhead. And if they can pull off this on a petri dish where everyone is literally watching it happen, uh, they'll be able to pull it off in huge ways all over the world. So, this isn't about Maui. This is about being a human on this planet and
Mhm.
realizing that this is a grand design. And, I believe that it started well, it's been starting other places, but they chose this in Hawaii because it's a heart chakra of the planet, and it's a mother. They call it the mother womb of the earth, and it's a really good place to start breeding nefarious evil activities. And if we know these people and we know that they love their rituals, they love to use symbolism. I mean, 8/8 is a symbolic day in astrology. It's a symbolic day for many different reasons. Revelations 8/8 is very interesting if you go and read in its relation to Maui and maybe the similarities. So,
Right.
think deeper and ask questions, because this is only this is Maui today, but it's East Palestine another day. It's
Mhm.
it's going to be another town, another place, another city, and somewhere.
Yep.
So
In Chicago, for example, we still have lead in our drinking water. There's industrial polluters that are impacting Lake Michigan, which is one of the Great Lakes that Chicago is bordered with. And again, these are dangerous chemicals. Flint, Michigan. It, who knows how long it's been since they've had clean drinking water? Over a decade now, since Obama was president. So I mean, it's that's a situation. East Palestine, Ohio, and now of course Lahaina. So we are entering into an election cycle for 2024, but on the ground, it's quite clear that you and your friends, be it on social media or Coconut Wireless, which I'm gonna have to adopt that now because I think it's a great term. But people have to be talking. And what is the overall feeling for this current president of ours and people turning out to vote? Will they turn out to vote? Because I've been looking a little bit into the history of Hawaii, and it's been predominantly Democrat, I believe, since the
Oh, yeah.
1950s. And if so, I mean, is there talk of a third party movement? Is there talk about people wanting to support Trump? I mean, I'm not asking how you're going to vote, but I mean, there has to be. You can't look me in the eye and tell me that people aren't talking about politics and how either they're burnt out and done with it, or they want some kind of significant change, because the governor, the mayor, everybody at every position of power has fundamentally failed the people of Hawaii. And it is inexcusable. And we see this happening over and over again. And by the way, for the people of Lahaina, Biden actually told that same story too. I should have brought it up earlier. To the people of Denver, Colorado, or the people who were in the suburbs of Denver, Colorado, when they had a wildfire, he brought up that same story too. And it's like, come on.
Wait,
So,
he already had. I did not know that. He's
yes,
used it
no,
twice.
he did. He used it twice in 2022. So people in Denver, Colorado, the suburbs outside Colorado, devastating wildfire took place there too. And he used the same story again too. At least he didn't talk about how he got arrested with Nelson Mandela. But the political rumbling on the ground in Maui, what's going on there? People have to be talking about it.
They do. And, of course, many times you'll hear me say that I believe they're selected for the grand design, but, Hawaii is having a red pill moment right now, and they have always, voted blue, and through, they loved Biden so hard, in this last election, and the amount of cars that have, Biden Harris on them is sickening. And they all lined up to go get the experimental jibby jabs because Biden told him to. So it's unfortunate, because they're having this moment where they're like, everybody's kind of scratching their heads and they're like, wait, I thought Josh Green was great and stuff. And it's like, sorry. But I see that people are, there's a large following for Trump, but, more or less, I think that they just actually want to give the kingdom back to the Royal Kingdom of Hawaii, and kind of keep politics out of it. And, with this housing crisis for the local community, that's, been happening for generations now. And, maybe it's time to give the people back their land. And, it seems like that seems to be the temperature of the air, even more so than American politics, especially here on the island. But, I think that it will all end when we even stop, Trump, vaccine warp speed, they're all in on it. So when we even stop giving time to these evilist globalists, and we don't vote for either of them, because they're all bad choices, and we all exit the system and we go start over, because every single agency is captured from every ground level up. You cannot convince me otherwise. Every judge, police, I mean, it's just we got to throw it away and start over, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
So on 9/11 of this week, or coming up, you and many other individuals will be leading this protest. What are some of the takeaways that you want at least the leading officials to be made aware of, and what are you hoping springs forward the day after? Because the thing is, it's important that there is civic engagement and that we don't forget what happened to the people of Lahaina, because so many people are forever going to be left with questions. There will be no closure. There is no happy ending. You can give condolences, you can say kind words, but at the end of the day, so many people are still going to be angry, and righteously so. They should be angry. What are you hoping will come from your event that you and others are organizing for on 9/11?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the island organizing it and saying it's time for us to use our voice. And we actually wanted to use the word vigil,
Mhm.
which means to keep watch and to pray. And these lands need to be keep watched upon. And also, we do need to pray and hold space for these victims. And there's been no vigils. There's not been one memorial for anybody. And as a community, that's, I feel, kind of shocking. Usually in other places you'll see
Yeah.
flowers and memorials left places. Like, that's not even happened here, and they want to erase like this devastation. So we wanted to hold the intention in space that this is like a vigil memorial, but we're also going to ask some questions. We want to know about the Sunshine Law and these proclamations. We want to know about the sirens, and we want to know about this accountability for um, what happened the day of, and who's doing this investigation, who's doing the testing of the water and the land, and where there's so many questions to be asked. And so we have to start somewhere. And it feels is there ever a good time when it's such a sensitive moment, and unfortunately, and I don't feel like there is, but also a month later, here we are. We haven't been able to mourn, and they are, pouring glue on the land and stealing it right before everyone's eyes. So I guess, the time is now. And, we're hoping that this is, well, and so far it has been very well received. And, people are hoping to set up island wide and even come visit from other islands.
Mhm.
We're having an outpouring of support. So, I, people, especially in Hawaii, there's still like a lot of, um, maybe it's called racism, where it's like, oh, just because I'm white, I'm not allowed to say these things because I'm not Hawaiian. And I love this land, uh, and I would stand by any Hawaiian to let you keep this land. And this is not about white people being insensitive to you, but this is about us seeing the trespassers who came before us and realizing that they're doing it right now again. And we want to help, and we want to stand beside you. We want to support and aid in this revival. And so that's the intention we want to have by this. And nothing but respect and love, and just coming together in solidarity, and unpacking some of that, and then also just begging the questions that need to be asked.
So, as a final note, and I understand that it's extremely early in Hawaii, and for that, I do encourage my chat to at least give you some thumbs up in the live stream chat because, I haven't woken up that early since my time in the Marine Corps or when I was working at Costco, doing that early morning stocking. All right, but nonetheless, real quick, if people can follow you online on social media, where can they go? And also, would you be available for you or any of the other colleagues that you are collaborating with to be back on our show? Because again, we have to keep talking about this. They're saying that they won't investigate or get to the bottom of what caused the fire until a year from now. The leaders are hesitant on being investigated in regards to what they were doing. So, real quick, where can we follow you on social media? And would you be available to ever return back onto our show again? Because we have to
Yes.
talk about the aftermath of what happened in Lahaina and the ever-growing concern of venture capitalists flying in and taking the land.
Yeah, and it's true. And they're already making their phone calls to do it. And, um, you know, Geez, yes. So social media, yes, Unjected Official.
Hmm.
That's where you can find me. And then just unjected.com if that's something that appeals to you. But yes, I would love to join anytime to continue to get the word out, because this is uh Lahaina is destroyed, and I could see this taking decades to actually come into, before the next steps of this happen. So right now we're at a pivotal moment, And yes, I would love for the world to hear about what's really happening, because the media isn't going to tell you about it. And just so we can hopefully lay templates. This might be a staging point for the globalists, but this could also be a staging point for freedom. And we can also use this as an example where a community come together to do something powerful. So we hope that it really lifts the veil even more across the world.
So then, as a final note, first, thank you again, Shelby Thomson, for being on our show. We're very grateful for the time that you've given us. A side note too, as well, while these are just words, we are very glad that you and your family are safe, but we do send our condolences to everyone in Maui, in Lahaina, and that you are not alone. This story cannot be forgotten. We cannot forget any of these tragedies that are happening to the citizens of this country or anyone in general. And justice needs to be served. There must be accountability. And we here in Chicago say, don't give up, don't stand down, because we too are going through our own gentrification, and it's devastating our communities too. So stay together, and I guess may the spirit of aloha keep you all together. So thank you again for being on our show.
I really appreciate it.
All the best, everyone that's watching in. We will continue on with the rest of our main show, so please stay tuned. And also, Shelby, I'm going to send you your colleagues something about citizen ballot initiatives. And while Hawaii is not a citizen ballot initiative state,
okay,
I would say here, I'm going to send it to you in the private chat. You can open that link up or copy it.
Perfect.
And you guys, I think my good friend of the show, Roger Meadows, talks a lot about citizen ballot initiatives. You want to talk about freedom and the ability to get control. Hawaii is not a citizen ballot initiative state, but I do encourage you guys to look into it to maybe make it so. Until then, folks, we are going to be continuing with the rest of our show, so please stay tuned while we pull up the video credits. And again, Shelby, all the best to you. And I think it's fair to say, get some rest now.
Thank you so much. Aloha.
Bye.
Bye.
Our society and our world are full of these invented and built up and contrived facades. And sometimes some people come along with a hammer and smash that facade. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer to smash that facade. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer to smash that facade.
Welcome to the future. Shit where you please. The Wi-Fi's killer, but there's no more bees. So there's hardly any flowers, there are very few trees, and you'll pay $1,000 for some honey for your tea. But we got these awesome collars, mine's an Apple Model 3. It allows for better movement than the Tesla X Elite. It lets you customize the ads that it implants in every dream. And for premium subscribers, doesn't shock you in your sleep. But it doesn't stop there. It can analyze your speech, and if it hears disinformation, then it notifies police. It's a swift re-education, but it knocks you off your feet like your booster every 7th week. I faced the future boldly with 2 eager open eyes, and I picked a couple nuggets up that blew my fucking mind. Like you can taxidermy someone while they're technically alive, and they'll shine when it's election time. See, the Democratic voter base will pay them zero. Never mind if voting for the scarecrow is a vote along their party lines. They could stare into its marble eyes and claim there's something dignified. Unlike real politicians, this one doesn't need an oxygen or kit supply. but its function is the same as those who came before. The goals are never misaligned. It still spends all its working time performing pre-recorded fleecing sessions where it sugarcoats your slow and hungry genocide, while pouring billions into Nazi coffers, all the while selling you the story that we're moments till the MiGs arrive. So fuck it, ask Zelensky if he'll help replace our leaded pipes. Watch a fleet of Penske's show stacks of bills in every size. Guess it only took a black sun and a couple hiles. Honorary goose step and some Nazi boots a quarter mile, all while Biden sneers his sordid smile. I don't know what was in this morning's vial, but it makes him stare 1,000 yards through all the prompters and the cards like he can smell the nearest child. His eyes are wide and wild, wider than the grave in which another 1,000 families were tossed in as I typed until they rose up to the sky unceremoniously piled. Which sort of flies right in the face of all this network ticker tape where the American economy has superhuman vitals.
And sometimes some people come along with a hammer.
See, I like to think my trial's gonna play like a recital. I'll denounce the world around me and accuse the most entitled, who weaponize their titles, whose pull is something tidal, who'd starve us all to death to best delight their blighted idol. So they might destroy the record, and I will never get to vinyl. So my word is not immortal, but it's final.
It's a brilliant, powerful hammer. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer to smash that facade.